Do you feel like you went from grandma to a leading character in a reality show called CPS Drama with a judge, a case manager, attorneys, therapists coming in and coming out of your home, attending court, not attending court, dentists, doctors, therapists? It's time to decode the different players in your drama, who you can call in case you're feeling stuck, who to document if you think things aren't going right, and the process. Who has the real power in the case? Who can you go to when things don't feel right? Is it possible to let some actors in the case go? Or do you have that power? In this video, those are the things we're going to decode. The most important person in the case, of course, is the judge. The judge is going to make ultimate decisions regarding that child. If the child stays in your care, in your placement, how long the case will last, if the child ultimately get reconciled with their parents, if parental rights and eventually get severed, all up to the judge. The case manager is your go-to person. The case manager has a lot of power in the case. In fact, typically, all things being equal, the judge will just do what the case manager asks. The case manager checks, or is supposed to check on the child at least once a month. If you're going to leave town, like a couple hours away or something, the case manager is who you'd shoot an email to. If you're going to leave the state, you need permission from the case manager. If you're going to leave the country on a vacation, you're typically able to do that, but you have to get permission from the court, the judge, and the case manager is who you do that through. So the case manager and the judge. The case manager typically in court has an attorney representing them. In Arizona, that's from the Attorney General's office. The case manager writes a report when you're going to go to court that the judge will read. Now, as I told you before, mom has an attorney, dad has an attorney. Typically, the child has an attorney or a GAL. A GAL is a guardian at Litem, and a GAL typically is licensed like an attorney and works for what's in the child's best interest. Sometimes a parent might have a GAL, and if the parent has a mental illness, a lot of times they'll also be signed a GAL, so an attorney for what they want, their rights, make sure that their legal rights are represented, and then a GAL to make sure that what's in the parent's best interest is also represented. And again, that's if there's a mental illness. A young child might be given a GAL. Sometimes a GAL in certain jurisdictions is a volunteer, a trained volunteer. In addition to that, there's something called a CASA, court-appointed special advocate, and those are trained citizens that, again, work for what's in the child's best interest. They're supposed to visit at least once a month the child, make sure that everything's okay, and they write a report on what they believe is in the child's best interest. The judge reads that, and it's been my experience that the judge takes what the CASA says very seriously. Maybe not always as seriously as the case manager, but sometimes more. It just depends on your circumstances. You can tell that the child's attorney works for what's the child's rights, the child's legal rights, what the child wants. The child's CASA works for what's in the child's best interest. And those are not always the same thing. A lot of times those are aligned. So those are the people basically in the court. You, CASA possibly, JAL possibly, attorneys, case manager for Department of Child Services or CPS, whatever's in your jurisdiction, and the judge. That's the core players of your drama. And of course, the children. In addition to that, you possibly could have a therapist that's going to help. If it's a small child, there might be play therapy available. There might be counseling available. There might be behavior counseling where the therapist will work with you on certain issues. There could be eating disorders, whatever. So there's a therapist, possibly, probably. And of course, there'll be a doctor, primary care doctor, and a dentist. Now, you as the foster parent would probably make these appointments to the doctor, to the dentist, to the enrolling into the school, teachers' conferences. But if the parents' medical rights and or educational rights have not been severed, and typically they're not in the beginning of a CPS case, then they have the right to attend doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, and teachers' conferences. So what you do as a foster parent is you make those appointments, you let the case manager know in writing, document it in an email. Here's the date of the appointment. Could you let the parents know? And let me know if their parents are going to attend. I would plan as a foster parent to attend those meetings. And then if the parent also attends, they'll be there. If they're a no-show, that just gets documented. Maybe they couldn't make it. Maybe they needed a ride, whatever. Just want to document that they were notified and they didn't attend, or they were notified and they did attend. Now, often schools get confused with IEPs and they notify you, the foster parent, and you show up. Well, it's really important to let the parent know, because the parent's the one that's supposed to sign that IEP. Sometimes the schools just do the IEP and then they send you a form backdated for you to sign. It's my policy. I don't sign it unless I got to attend and have input. I don't sign a backdated IEP. Include me in the meeting, and I will sign it if that's appropriate. If I have medical rights over the child, or if the case manager says I can, but it'll be dated the day I sign it. I had an experience once where they just sent me an IEP and said, here, sign this. I'm like, excuse me. This child smiles for yes, does nothing for no. Kind of typical. Everybody can understand that he smiles for yes. You want ketchup on that? He smiles, that's yes. Universal, right? On the IEP, they were teaching him to blink once for yes, blink twice for no. And that had went on for months because they never asked the parent. They never asked me. They just decided that all people that were nonverbal could blink once for yes and twice for no. And he already communicated for no. And they said, okay, we'll just sign this and then we'll go forward with the blinking. No, we're going to go smile for yes, don't smile for no. So anyways, it was very awkward because guess what? In Arizona, if they don't have a dated IEP, they don't get paid for all those days. And so it was going to impact their budget. But well, from now on, invite the parents or invite the foster parent and have the meeting. So anyways, that's just so you have, IEPs if that's appropriate. And again, try to see if you can't get the parent invited, at least get it documented that you let the case manager. So who can you fire, terminate? Not really. That's, it's kind of the case manager, but you can totally push it and the case manager probably go along with you. For example, I had a case where the child was transported to visit and then supervised by a company for the visit. And this road has a one-way. You go in, you go out. And when that person would pick up the child, they would go out the wrong way. And I also saw them then smoking in the car. So I reported that to the case manager. And it's just not working out. And the case manager absolutely got a different supervising company to supervise that child. Another thing is sometimes play therapy. You have the child in play therapy and the other kids are kind of rough and you're uncomfortable with that. Again, you just document it, let the case manager know, and maybe put them in a different play therapy or a different therapist company that will. So what I'm trying to tell you is you're not stuck just because they come up on a list and they get assigned that therapist or they get assigned that company. If it's not working out, document why it's not working out. Let the case manager know you are the advocate for that child. That case manager has a lot of cases and cannot possibly know what all the details are. But you do. It's not working out. Document why, the date, what happened, what made you uncomfortable. Let the case manager know and push back. And the case manager can reassign it to a different case. If you have a CASA, that CASA typically only has a few cases. And so they can really help you push those things that just don't feel right and let the case manager know. Sometimes the case managers are so busy, it's hard to get a hold of them. It's hard to let them know they're juggling as fast as they can. That's why I always communicate in a email so that it's in writing. I have time to think about what I'm going to say. I document it. It's there. Try to be concise because I don't have a lot of time. I don't know that I've ever had a case manager answer a phone call, but I usually have a CASA answer a phone call if I have a concern. So, you get to usually visit them once a month. Let me know in the comments if you've had any examples, problems, issues, positives for any of these players. Next video, we're going to talk about the different meetings, the players at those meetings, and again, what to attend, what you don't have to attend, what input you could possibly have. And till then, I hope that you're able to seek the joy, find the good, and I hope that you're appreciated and loved because what you're doing is hard. What you're doing is hard, and you should be appreciated, and you should know you're appreciated. Okay, till next week. Bye-bye.